topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Leadership for Life with Gina Gardner on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Join your host, who is a multiple #1 international best-selling author, motivational speaker, empowerment and transformational leadership coach and trainer. She's the founder of Genuinely-You and has 30 years experience of helping people step into their genuine, authentic power. And now, here is Gina Gardner, your host of Leadership for Life.
Hello there, and welcome to today's show. Really pleased to be with you. Got a very special show for you today. It's all about finding and using your authentic voice. And we're joined later on by Dean Piper. Now, W4CY is the vehicle, if you like, for me to get my message out, to use my voice, to feel empowered, and to use it to empower others. And today I'm joined by Dean Piper, who is W4CY. And so he's going to talk about using the radio and TV in terms of business and how you can get your voice out there. But before we go to the break and I introduce Dean to you, I want to talk to you about using your authentic voice, recognizing that you have a voice and that it's important that you use it and use it to yourself and to others. So there's that internal dialogue that you have with yourself. I was talking to a client just before today's show, and new client, her internal voice consistently batters her. It's telling her that she's not good enough, that she's not doing it right. Why did you do that? Why didn't you do the other? And it's so toxic. It's really, really destructive. And so over the next few sessions, what I'm going to be doing with her is to help her recognize that she has a choice. That voice in her head is an old habitual habit, and it's not doing her any good. Being authentic means actually owning who you are, that you have an authentic voice to use. It's about saying to people what you want to say rather than what you want them to hear. It's about being able to say no and do that without feeling guilty if you're asked to do something and it's not appropriate or convenient for you. So many people keep quiet rather than speaking their truth. And I'm not talking about being brutal about speaking your truth, but actually being authentic about speaking your truth. And interestingly, so many people that I've worked with, where they come to me, and part of it is that they lack confidence or that they feel unhappy. So commonly do I find that one of the reasons for their unhappiness is that they haven't found their voice and they don't use it. And so they are constantly swallowing their words. And it's not surprising that they then often suffer from sore throats and headaches because the tension in terms of not saying those things that they want to say, feeling that people won't listen or they're not important enough or I might upset somebody, keeps that voice stuck within them. And as a result, they are not fulfilled. They're not feeling happy because they're not authentically being who they are. So ask yourself, what is my authentic voice saying? You know, what are the things that I would like to say to my parents, to my partner, to my children, to my boss, to my colleagues, to the world at large? And recognize that every word that you use leaves a living legacy. And so you can couch things in a way which is destructive and critical and difficult for people to take on board, or you can couch things in a way that people will hear. Now, does that mean that you can't say difficult things? Quite the opposite. That when you are aware of the language that you use and you use it mindfully, you are in a much better situation to use words that people will be able to hear and recognize. Just because you said it doesn't mean that people have heard it. And even if they've heard it, doesn't mean that they've taken it on board. And so part of that effective communication, and this is personal life, professional life, business life, communication is a two-way process. And it's recognizing that other people need to hear it in order for it to have validity, if you like. But if you don't say it, then nobody's got any chance of hearing it. So think about how you want to show up in the world. Think about how often you contain what you're saying rather than saying your truth. And if you have a mission, a purpose in life, and I've got a huge one, as you know, if you've watched the show before, which is to help people take control of their lives by being the leader in their own lives, and to help leaders within organizations to be the best enlightened, profitable leader that they can be, which means being the leader in their own life. And a big part of that is knowing your message and being able to get your message out there. So often when I work with businesses and I work with the business leaders and we talk about, what is it you're doing and why is that important? Their message is very cloudy. They don't understand that if they are not clear about their vision and why it's important, and they don't have it in a way that they can express it, that other people can take it on board and have a sense of ownership of it, then their business isn't going to do well. Those businesses that succeed and are profitable in the broadest sense have very clear communication where that voice is very, very, what's the word I want? That they recognize that the words have value and the words have a vibration to them. And so they choose their words to make sure that that they are expressing the message that they want other people to hear. But if you don't know what that message is, then how can you expect other people to engage with it? So this is the program which I hope that you will take on board. Do some inner work, whether it's your personal life and recognizing that you have the capacity to speak your truth in a way that is palatable but still doesn't dilute the message at all. And that in your business life, being really clear what you're about and why, and being able to communicate that to your staff, to your suppliers, to your clients and to your customers, and getting the word out there. Now, we live in a world which is full of white noise. The TV, the radio, the internet, social media, the list goes on. And so being clear about your message and being able to deliver that message in a way that other people understand is the first, and I think the most vital part. If you don't know what you're saying, then how you say it and get it out there is immaterial. But then when we come back after the break, we're going to be talking to Dean about how you can use media, how you can use radio shows and TV shows like W4CY to help you get your message to the very people that you need to hear. Now, he can't clarify the message for you. That's your job. But once you have your message, getting that message out there and enabling other people to hear your message and to engage with that, then that's something that Dean has an enormous amount of experience in and that he can really help. So don't go away. After the break, he and I are going to have a conversation about communicating your message, and he will also share his expertise and experience about how you can use the media to do that. So don't go away. See you in a minute.
You have been listening to Gina Gardner on Leadership for Life. We'll be back after this quick break. Want to get the best out of life personally and professionally? Are you ready to step into a life which excites and fulfills you? Well, the right place for you is Leadership for Life with Gina Gardner on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. We will share with you stories from inspiring people, a wide range of guest experts, and lots of practical strategies to help you get the very best out of your personal and professional life. Leadership for Life is a radio and TV show focused on helping you live a happier, more successful, and fulfilling life. Join international best-selling author, motivational speaker, empowerment and transformational leadership coach and trainer, Gina Gardner, live every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Become the leader of your own life. Gina Gardner's #1 international best-selling book, Thriving Not Surviving, The 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success, and Fulfillment, provides you with the foundational principles on which to become the best leader of your own life. It's available as an ebook, paperback, hardback, and as an audio from genuinely-u.com, or also from Amazon. Every one of the principles have been proven to work for the countless people who have used them, including the author. Now, let's put them to work for you. If you're ready to discover your true leadership life design, accelerate your journey with an invitation to join Gina for Leadership for Life VIP Day. Choose your journey of self-discovery where Gina will help you navigate your way to happiness, success, and fulfillment. To find out more, email Gina at genuinely-u.com. Welcome back to Leadership for Life. Here is your host, Gina Gardner.
Hello there. Now, I'm going to introduce Dean Piper to you, and he's got the most impressive bio. And as you know, I read it because I don't want to lose any of the richness. So Dean K. Piper, CST, aka the Pipeman, is an international radio personality, podcaster, master marketeer, publicist, promoter, published author, speaker, coach, and trainer. Dean is the owner and the founder of Talk4 Media and Pipeman Productions, globally recognized as a top-ranked, full-service, eco-friendly multimedia network and marketing firm, producing, broadcasting, and distributing TV, radio, and podcasting. Dean has partnerships with many major events and music festivals, as well as iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. Dean also has multiple shows, including The Adventures of the Pipeman, Pipeman in the Pit, and Positively Pipeman, and is also known as the King of all festivals during the Pipeman Radio Tour. Subscribe to all of his podcasts and follow @Pipeman Radio on all social media. He wants to be friends, and he's become a friend of mine and a friend of the listeners of Leadership for Life. So without more ado, I'd like to introduce you to Dean K. Pipeman.
Hello, how are you?
Hi there. I'm great, thank you, and a huge welcome. Now,
well, I am honored because you have an amazing show and you are an amazing role model to empower people around the world. So it is much an honor for me to be here today.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, for many people, being on the radio, being on the TV is something that they assume is not within their grasp to normal people. You know, if you're not a celebrity, then how can you do it? And is it difficult? But before we get into all of that, just tell us your story. I mean, how comes you've got a TV and radio show? How did you get here?
Well, it was, this thing called being born.
So you were born with a radio studio already done in your pram. Impressive.
It was probably all in the whole framework. I had to go through a few steps to get there, but it was probably something I was born to do for sure. And it has been a long journey, which is why my show is called The Adventures of Pipeman. I'm even wearing my Pipeman shirt today for the show. That I can't tell if you can see it. So it's life is all an adventure, though, isn't it? And everything.
It certainly is.
Adventure, and that adventure doesn't have to mean like I think that's the thing in communication. People sometimes, they can't let their imagination go anywhere, or they just pinpoint themselves in a box. Because an adventure doesn't mean, hey, I'm going out and I'm going to go hike the Himalayas. Sure, that's an adventure. but just living life as an adventure, and everything we do every day, whether it's relationships, business, personal. And these adventures and these things are things that we should be sharing with the world, because that's how other people can learn, can be empowered. You know, as somebody who's a speaker, it used to be a time that there were only certain people that were speakers.
Yeah.
But to me, that's only certain voices, that's only certain experiences, that's only certain variables. And not everybody can relate to that. And I think the key to empowering people, to leading people, is for them to relate to you and for you to relate to them as well. Because, you know, there's a kind of a fallacy that as a leader, that you should be able to lead everybody. There's some people you don't want to lead, because really leading should be a symbiotic relationship that is beneficial for both parties, not just one. So as a leader, not only should it be important that the people you are leading can learn from or benefit from, but you as the leader can learn from and benefit. And that's really the key to media today, I think, is because we don't have these limitations that we had before, anybody can have a voice. And even if, I'm a firm believer, if somebody speaks for an hour and only one thing they said for 5 seconds can change your life, it was worth that hour. Not everybody thinks that way. And that's why we're here today, Gina.
I think that's very, there's a lot to unpack in what you've just said. And I'd like to just pull out one or two things, if I may. And, you know, that recognition that life is an adventure, and the adventure is what you make of it. And so, you know, going to the Himalayas sounds wonderful, but actually getting up in the morning and every opportunity that is open to you during the day is the door of possibility to an adventure. If you're curious, if you're excited about your life and about what you're going to meet, and that you are choosing to live in the moment and to make the most of that moment, it's the most incredible adventure. Many people walk through life with their eyes half shut and their ears closed. And before the show, we were talking about people who live within a very small geographical world. But there are people who travel the world, but they still don't see anything other than what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of the adventure, if you're listening to this, is being open to being in the moment, to recognizing that moment by moment, the day opens up and you can make of it what you will. Be curious, be enthusiastic, live it wholeheartedly, because life ain't a spectator sport. And you will find that the quality of your life shifts just by doing that. That slight mind shift can have a huge impact. But the other thing is that talking about the voice, you know, and using media. Now, let's imagine I'm somebody who's got my own business. I'm an entrepreneur. What are the benefits, do you think, of engaging with the media as a host, whether that's TV, radio, or podcasting? Why should people do it?
Well, that's an interesting question, because, again, to not be in a box, that why is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. And not only different for the person that, you know, you're giving that information to, but the why of whoever they're going to connect to, you know, because really you have so many components that go along with it. So one of the things I will answer to that is whenever I talk to somebody, and you can attest to this too, Gina, as I did this with you, is I don't tell them my spiel first. I listen to their spiel first. Because otherwise, how can you provide people with the things that they want, the things that they need, the things that can help them, the things that can benefit whoever they're looking to benefit, unless you know what their why is? Okay, so my why is totally dependent on everybody else's why. Now, let's give the generic answer. And that generic answer can be customized. The why is, again, to have a voice. you know, and what a better place to have a voice. You know, we live in a world where even if you are in this small geographic location, as we were talking about before the show, you have access to the whole world. And that wasn't always the case. So if you were in your local area, the people you could speak to was your local area. Now, because of Talk4 Media and the services that we provide, being live radio, podcasting, live TV, and TV podcasting, marketing, and all that, it's a much bigger world that has become a much smaller world. So you're reaching the big world in your small world. And, you know, we can facilitate that. And there's several answers to the question, you know, and again, like I said, it's based on people's needs. But number one, there's really no better way to promote and market yourself, your services, your products, your message, or to empower people than using media. Okay. And I'm a believer in multiple forms of media. So if somebody says to me, well, I'm already doing this, bravo. But I think you know, we're in a society where you have to be in a multitude of different places. And that's the beauty of dealing with us and here at Talk4 Media, is because we're that one-stop shop for all of it. Okay. So there's people out there doing a TV show, doing a radio show, doing a podcast, doing marketing. They're going to all these different places. And I don't think they have the same synergy all the way around than they can with us by a one-stop shop. And it also, you know, obviously saves time, because what are we doing right now? We're broadcasting TV and radio at the same time. So we're utilizing that little time in that 24-hour day. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how to turn a 24-hour day into a 48-hour day. I've been doing it for years. It's not been successful. And the more we go along, that 24-hour day gets shorter and shorter. So here's a way to maximize our time and maximize our effort and exposure at the same time. So the bottom line is, why should you have media? So you can reach the world, empower the world, benefit everybody, and benefit yourself at the same time, so that together we can achieve all our goals and lead the world to be a more positive place.
I would agree with you that ultimately, if you have that sense that you have got a message that you want to get out there, and you want it to get out there on a grand scale, then using media is the best way to do it. And I just had to smile to myself as you were talking. I'm sitting actually in my dining room in Ardleigh, which is a small village outside Colchester in the UK. You're sitting on an island in Florida. And here we are having a conversation, and Roxy, the producer, is in another location. And yet we're having a conversation as if you're sitting across the room to me in real time, and people are listening to it all around the world, or can download it from all around the world. And, you know, I think back to, you know, perhaps 20, 30, 40 years ago, that would have seemed inconceivable, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. As a matter of fact, when I was talking about this, when I started the network 13 years ago, people thought I was nuts. I think they wanted to put me in a loony bin. And you know, here it is, real life, you know, and my grandmother always used to say, the only thing constant in life is change. And we're experiencing it more than ever right now. And the true leaders recognize that. And then there's other people that don't. You know, when Bill Gates had the idea of Microsoft, before he was going to even have his own business, he worked for IBM, and he approached IBM and he said, hey, I have an idea for a PC in every home. And IBM said to him, you're nuts. The mainframe will never go away. And that's really why he started Microsoft. It wasn't like he just started Microsoft. It would have been IBM would have been the Microsoft. But they didn't have the vision, because they were comfortable. As successful as they were as the biggest tech company in the United States, you know, they were too comfortable. I see it in radio too. I call it WKRP in Cincinnati syndrome. And for people that know what that means, and people that don't know, there was a radio show in the 70s called WKRP in Cincinnati. It was the epitome of how 70s radio was. Well, I experience it now that there's plenty of people in radio that are still resisting what we're doing right now, saying it's not going to work, and they're still living in that time that does not exist anymore. And that's true of so many people in the world, so many industries. The true leaders are the ones that have the vision of things that are to come that no one else can see, or do they also refuse to see it, that because they don't want to. And IBM is a perfect example of that, because that company, even though they're still around, they are never, ever going to be the leader that they were, number one. Number two, they suffered very badly for 25 years. It took 25 years for them to get back to where they were in 1966.
That anticipating, that being brave to take that step is one of the things that when I'm doing business coaching is to talking to people about the bell curve of development. And if you don't take the opportunity to develop because you're so stuck in what you're doing, you'll miss the boat. Swiss watches at one time were the very best watches in the world, and everybody, that was what they wanted. When digital watches came, the technology for digital watches came out, they were offered that first, and they said, no, it'll never be needed. And the Koreans and the Japanese and so on took it up. And now Swiss watches are a niche market. They're not the world leaders because they did not keep up. They didn't anticipate and take that chance. And I'm just this whole global thing now. We live in a global market. Particularly for those people who are selling online, like myself, online programs and books, and can coach or can work remotely through Zoom and things like that. The medium of media is just perfect, isn't it? Because you are using the same technology that you will be using in order to sell your wares. And so it makes sense to use it at every level. Yeah.
And it's, it holds true everywhere. I was just having a conversation with somebody yesterday because we're having a weird real estate thing going on in this country right now due to COVID, actually. And so somebody I know they're getting displaced from their home because the home is being sold. And a lot of that's going on in this country right now because real estate is at record levels. So all the people that were owning rental property are now selling because it's their first chance in like 20 years to sell and actually profit. And so there's two ways people can look at a situation like that. Either you can look at it as, oh my God, what am I going to do? And there's several other bad things about it, okay? Because that's going on, there's no rental properties out there, so rentals are through the roof. It's hard to find a place to get. You can't buy a house because people are paying more than the houses are worth, and it's like they're sold like in 30 seconds. So you can view all those problems, because that's what people generally tend to do. They view problems. And you can focus on those problems. But guess what? You can't do anything about it. The problem's already there. You have two choices: focus on the problem or solve the problem. And the number one way to solve that problem is mindset. That's my firm belief, and how you look at it. And so what I said to this person was, basically, just take a breath, don't worry about it, and something will come to you. Because I'm a firm believer that when you focus on all these negative things, the answer does not come to you. But when you focus on the answer, it comes to you. You don't have to find it. So then there's the other part of it that I also advise, and that is, this was, and I did posting about this on Facebook this morning, this was a forced situation that forces you to jump out of your comfort zone and get exactly what you want out of life. Because otherwise you're too scared to do it.
Yeah. Again, there's so much richness in what you say. The neuroscience absolutely agrees with you. When you are in problem mode, you're in the left part of your brain, and that's either or. It's catastrophizes. It's either good or it's bad. And it's very difficult to get into the solution part of things when you're in your left brain. But then when you take a deep breath, that helps you transfer into your right brain, which is creative. It's into solutions. It's looking to find alternatives that perhaps were not obvious to you when you were in your left brain. And so not only is your advice great advice because it's great advice, but actually, if people followed that advice, their brain function is actually then wired to support them in finding a way forward. It's not the challenge that defines you, but what you do with it. And I think many people just get caught up in the victimhood of the challenge, and they don't then think, okay, what am I going to do about it? What is the solution? And as you so rightly say, so often the solution finds them something far better than they had in the first instance. And looking back, they say, oh, it's the best thing that happened to me, but it's traumatic going through it.
And you have to have the vision too. And that ties all to the vision, because what your vision is what you're going to focus on. So if you're in the problem, that's your vision. So when I said to this person, I said, you'll probably end up somewhere better than you are now. Their answer was, I doubt that. And that is what so many people do. Well, if you doubt that, that's exactly what you're going to get. One thing scientific about, your brain and the neurology of it is the fact that whatever you tell yourself, your brain always wants to be right. So it's going to figure out the solution to what you're telling yourself.
If we're taking this into sort of a more spiritual conversation, and in fact, we've got a guy next week on the show, Brandon Beecham, who's written The 8 Keys of Abundance. And I've been reading his book in preparation. It's actually tomorrow, not next week, it's tomorrow night. It is around how what we focus on becomes our reality.
Always.
And the vibration behind what we're focusing on and the language that we're using, the message, back to the message you're giving yourself, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
And yet so many people create the very conditions and perpetuate those that they don't want, because they're always talking about what they don't want. We had Michael Lozier on a few weeks ago, who wrote the original Law of Attraction book. And he was saying, eradicate the word don't from your vocabulary. Always couch what you're saying in the format of what you do want. But I don't know about you, but I've come across so many people who know what they don't want. But when you say, well, okay, what do you want? They can't answer you because they've been so focused on what they don't. It's never going to happen.
If you don't know what you want, how are you going to get it?
Yeah. It's a real challenge for so many people. And I think, the world would shift and life would be so much more enjoyable if people were that just one, if you take nothing else from this show, that take away the word don't and start to think about what you do want, the quality of your life will shift and will change.
No doubt.
What's your dream? What for you is the thing that, my purpose is, and if I can achieve that, then I will die a happy man?
I have a very easy answer to that. And that answer has obviously evolved throughout lifetime. You ask that question of yourself throughout lifetime and you get different answers, but those answers, the way I look at it those answers are the sub answers. In other words, for those that don't understand what that means is, those are the stopping points to the ultimate answer. And I think it's once you get through some of those points, you actually figure out what the real answer is. And for me, the real answer is very short and sweet and KISS principle. Live life to the fullest. every single moment, not every day, not every year, every single moment. Because at the end of the day, I know if I were to pass away right now during this interview,
Please don't. Please don't.
I'll try not to. There's nothing I could say. Of course, there's going to be things I would have wanted to do and stuff like that, but I can't say that, man, I should have lived life this way, or I should have done this. You know, there's so many people that get to our stages in life and they start doing things because they never did them. I do things and people could say that and they're like, oh, they use these terms like midlife crisis or blah, blah, blah. You know, I hate all that stuff. But really, I'm just being me. And I'm being me that was always me. It's not like, oh, I never did these things, so I'm going to do them now. It's like, oh, I did these things younger, and now I want to do these other things, or I want to do these things again. And, you know, I'm not living life any differently. And I think a lot of people do that. So my best advice is to start early, like anything. People start retirement plans early. Why not start living your dream early?
Do you know that that's such a sage piece of advice? You know, live in the moment. So many people are in the past. You can't change the past. You can only learn from it. Or they're whittling about the future. And of course, it may never happen. And so all of that energy that could have been focused on now is being dissipated and wasted.
Yes.
Now, we're coming to a time, we've got a few minutes left. So talk to people about if they were interested in getting into the media, what are the practicalities? What do they need to know? How can you help people recognize that being in the media may be for them?
Well, my first answer is, again, the simple answer. I'm a big believer in the simple answer. I think too many people live their life in what I call the paralysis of analysis. Mm-hmm. And really, it is simple. I can't tell you how many times. I even had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and people say it's not that simple. It's always that simple, you know? And, you know, the bottom line is we complicate things. So the simple answer is, all you need to know in order to accomplish what you said, whether somebody wants to host their own radio show, host their own podcast, host their own TV show, distribute and get bigger exposure and monetization for their current show, podcast, or TV show, get marketing for their business, service, publicity, whatever it is write down the number 561-506-4031. And you could also email Dean, DEAN, at talk4media.com. That's TALK, the number 4, MEDIA.com. That's the simple answer. Now, why do I give that as a simple answer? Because everybody's goals, dreams, desires, needs, expectations, I could come up with 100 different words, are different. So there's no cookie cutter. I don't do cookie cutter. There is cookie cutter. I mean, there's my competitors are cookie cutter. And the problem with cookie cutter is that people generally tend to, get something that isn't well suited for them because it's suited for somebody, but not necessarily them. So, and as you know, and can attest to from our first conversations, is the first thing I do is find out what everything, that pertains to you, what you're looking for, so I can customize a package to suit your needs. So, the bottom line is you don't have to worry about it. You have professionals that can worry about it. As long as you have something to say and you want to say it, I and Talk4 Media can help you make it happen. All you have to do is, again, like I said, give me a call, 561-506-4031. Email me at dean@talk4media.com, or you can look me up on Facebook, Dean K. Piper or Pipeman Radio. You can connect to me on all social media at Pipeman Radio. And, we can have a conversation and see if I can even help you. Maybe I might say to you, hey, you're doing it right. Keep doing it. Or maybe I can give you a better way. Or maybe I can help you monetize it. Or maybe you're already monetizing it and I can make it bigger. or maybe I can help you get exposure, and maybe you're already getting exposure, but I can increase that dramatically. Because here we also have a partnership with iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Audible. Those are major players, some of which that you can't necessarily get on your own. That's number one. Number two, we distribute to over 100 other different outlets. We will give you more exposure for your message than anywhere else that I know of. So there's one place to go, and one place and one way to do it, and that's just reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. If nothing else, we make a connection that could change everybody's life.
I'm talking from my own experience. I have to say it's very simple, very professional. You have a producer in the back, Roxy's in the background. She will help you. You were a huge help in terms of setting it up and getting all of the technical sides and the posters and all of those things done and the adverts. And you made it very straightforward and very seamless. You need a decent computer. You need a decent internet connection. And that's pretty well it, really.
Yeah.
And so I would say to you, if you are an organization or an entrepreneur or a one-man band who's got a message that you want to get out there, whether that's a message in terms of empowering others or marketing your business and making your business better, then get in touch with Dean. I can really recommend it firsthand. I've been doing this since November last year, and it's been a great experience. So Dean, you had an email about which of the projects for B1G1 were great, proud to be members of Buy One, Give One. Were you able to choose which project that you would like us to donate to on your behalf? So it was clean water, it was helping girls with education who otherwise wouldn't get it, and it was reforestation.
Well, here's the thing. When you sent that to me and I did respond to it, it was a very difficult answer because my choice would be all three. And so the one that had to do with children was the one I thought, and providing them safe drinking water is the one I felt was the most important. It edged out the other ones only because, just think about it. The concept of there's children out there that don't have safe drinking water, everything else after that, seems like something that wouldn't come to be unless you had safe drinking water. So that's why I picked that one. But I fully think they're absolutely amazing. I think educating females, especially in certain countries where they're still living so backwards, I think is extremely important. I'm very big about the environment, and so trees are definitely very important. But children are our future. It kind of sounds like a song, but
Yeah.
And to see children suffer, to me, pulls at my heartstrings more than any adult suffering or anything else. Because listen, I mean, there's people that have lived their whole life suffering. There's some of us that get to a later stage and then start suffering. But can you imagine suffering from such a young age and not experiencing really what childhood should be about, because you're worrying about whether you can drink safe water or not, something as simple as that.
You'd think 21st century would be well beyond that. So thank you. You'll be donating clean water to many children for many days on your behalf. Remember, for everybody who watches live or download, we give hungry people food, and we make sure that they go to sleep with full bellies. It just remains for me to say thank you so much, Dean. I really enjoyed our conversation. I've no doubt it's not going to be the last, but thank you very much indeed. Don't go away. We've got a very short break, and then we've just got 2 or 3 minutes where I want to talk to you at the end of the show. So please don't go away. See you in a minute. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Gina Gardner on Leadership for Life. We'll be back after this quick break. Want to get the best out of life personally and professionally? Are you ready to step into a life which excites and fulfills you? Well, the right place for you is Leadership for Life with Gina Gardner on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. We will share with you stories from inspiring people, a wide range of guest experts, and lots of practical strategies to help you get the very best out of your personal and professional life. Leadership for Life is a radio and TV show focused on helping you live a happier, more successful, and fulfilling life. Join international best-selling author, motivational speaker, empowerment and transformational leadership coach and trainer, Gina Gardner, live every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Become the leader of your own life. Gina Gardner's #1 international best-selling book, Thriving Not Surviving, The 5 Secret Pathways to Happiness, Success, and Fulfillment, provides you with the foundational principles on which to become the best leader of your own life. It's available as an ebook, paperback, hardback, and as an audio from genuinely-u.com, or also from Amazon. Every one of the principles have been proven to work for the countless people who have used them, including the author. Now, let's put them to work for you. If you're ready to discover your true leadership life design, accelerate your journey with an invitation to join Gina for Leadership for Life VIP Day. Choose your journey of self-discovery where Gina will help you navigate your way to happiness, success, and fulfillment. To find out more, email Gina at genuinely-u.com. Welcome back to Leadership for Life. Here is your host, Gina Gardner.
Hello there. I just wanted to spend the last couple of minutes of the show talking to you about a summer special that I'm running. Those of you that have looked on the websites will know that I run VIP intensives. They're 4.5, 5 hours, and we look at many, many different topics, whether that's leadership and leading your business, leading your own life, but also for empaths who see themselves leading others. That I'm doing a very special offer in the summertime where I think it's time to really skill up, ready, because as kids go back to school up in September, as you know, things are eased by people having vaccinations and so on, there's going to be a need to really steam ahead and to get going and to perhaps do things differently. And so I'm offering bundles. You can choose 3 VIP intensives for a special price. And if you're interested in doing that, we'll tailor it to you. We'll take you from where you are and help you accelerate your journey so that you are really well skilled and that you can get going and move on, that anticipation, living life to the full, personally and professionally, that getting your business in the best possible place, working with your staff if you have a staff. If you're interested, please email me at Gina, Gina, at genuinely-u.com. Gina at genuinely-u.com. And you know what we can do is to ensure that you are really well skilled. So it would be 3 separate units. You can take them at the time scale that works for you, have them one after the other, or you can have them spaced out. But I'm doing this because I believe people really do need to be skilled up and get going, because we've been waiting with the pandemic and everything else that's going on, and it really is time to take charge of the situation. So join me, give me an email at Gina at genuinely-u.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you at the next show. Download, if you're interested in B1G1, it's in the show notes. Please use the code, because then we can actually make impacts together. Take care. Thank you so much for listening, and become the leader of your own life. Every day, every moment, recognize you are the leader in your own life. Make sure that you lead yourself well. Thanks so much. Take care now. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Leadership for Life with your host, Gina Gardner. Make sure you tune in to W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV next Thursday and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for more Leadership for Life. If you missed any part of this episode or just want to hear or see it again, you can find the archive of the TV show on Talk 4 TV's YouTube channel and the podcast of The Leadership for Life on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music, and wherever you listen to your podcast.